Oh, hello. So today, we're going to cover more US death metal bands from the 90s. No band that I've mentioned in these previous videos will be mentioned in this one. In fact, today's topic will be band names, their epithet, so to speak, which was a little goofier, a little off-putting, which kind of prevented me from checking them out. They just didn't seem to fit what I was looking for at the time, so I neglected listing them until more recently, when I started digging for these gems that I missed in the 90s when I was really getting into death metal. So, before you check out these other videos, I want you to come with me. I'm going to give you my top 6 goofier sounding US death metal bands and their best albums. This is all good stuff I'm showing you. I'm not just name dropping. I'm not just showing you random albums. These are all albums that I would rate a B or above on the tier list. So this is all above average stuff that if you've already gone through all the named bands and you're still looking for more, these are bands you should absolutely check out. So come with me. We're going on another trip. We're not taking roads this time. Where we're going, we won't need, however that saying goes.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Alrighty then, so we're going to start right off at number 6. It's not really a number 6, I have 6 of them. This isn't a tier list, or they aren't in order by any means. This is just how I put them, no particular reason. So we're going to start over in Colorado with this doomy tech grind, death grind kind of band, Skeleton of God. In '93 they released an EP called Urine Garden. Yeah, kind of off-putting. Now, they're not similar to some of the more extreme metal that's coming out of Colorado these days, but if you're familiar with 𝔈𝔄ℜ𝔏𝔜 𝔅𝔏𝔜 and you're a fan, I would definitely give these guys a look. Check them out. Alright, yeah, pretty groovy, something a little different. If you're into that, definitely check that out. But if you want some more straightforward death metal, here's a Chicago band. They released Promises Impure in '93, Demented Ted. Now, '93, that's such an important year for me in death metal. That's kind of the divide. You could have randomly purchased items prior to that, just based on the aesthetics, the logo, the drawings, the name of the band, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get something at least good, if not great. Now, after that year, that's when the percentages got off. There were too much bad crap released after that point, and I'm not saying there wasn't good stuff. Obviously, look at my previous videos, and you can see a number of releases after that point, which I thoroughly enjoy. But for me, it was less of a guarantee by that point. You had to do a little bit more research prior to buying it. And back then, you couldn't just stream something or get a sample somewhere. You had to read through fanzines, these very niche fanzines, or maybe know the band locally, or look at the shirts that the bands you do like were wearing, or what was in their thank you notes. That was a very important place for me to discover bands. Or compilations. I did a video on compilations earlier. That was a very efficient way for me to find a number of bands when I was first getting into these extreme genres. Anyway, now the name Demented Ted, I'm sure has something to do with Ted Bundy, I would assume. But it reminded me of a movie, also released in '93, Ed and His Dead Mother.
Have you been putting your feet up on the sofa? It's absolutely filthy.
And this is a goddamn nightmare.
Benny! I will not have that sort of talk in this house.
I don't know why. I don't do movie reviews anymore, and that's in the title. Metal movies and more. I didn't do my 31 Days of Horror. Obviously, it's October and you're not seeing those. I didn't get very views last year, but it was fun. I should have done it. What do you guys think? Should I start doing movie reviews again? Do you want to see that? I don't know. I don't have a lot of hot takes, but I can show you what I like. Anyway, Demented Ted, Fucked Up Fred, whatever it is, check it out. Good, solid, decent death metal, right? Well, we're going to move a little bit further west now. Now, this is,
in the Mojave,
we had Doom Snake Cult. They morphed from Goat Lord, who I mentioned in a previous video of mine, maybe 3 years ago. But check it out. I probably shouldn't watch it. I'd probably delete it if I did. Embrace the cringe, right? Anywho, this is maybe the first trippy doom death album that I'm familiar with, at least. It's hippy dippy stuff, but done in the death metal style. If you want something a little bit weirder, give this a listen.
If I made us to kill, he would not have made peace. We were put here to slaughter. We were put here to kill. Try love. Take love. We must all love one another. They don't know what, but they're going to kill each other.
Alright, continuing our journey west, we are heading to Los Angeles. Now, despite the city's size, it's never been a haven for death metal by any means. Certainly, very good death metal bands have come from Los Angeles and the surrounding areas, but it's never been a mecca of sort. Maybe that's why this band, Charlie Christ, went unnoticed. Very heavy, catchy. Just listen how that first riff starts off. This really kicks the album off on the right foot, and it keeps you going the whole time. Of course, there are lower moments and stuff like that, but it's solid throughout. This is a album, maybe the name was taken from kind of the Marilyn Manson thing that was going on at the time, so that kind of kept me away from it, just the association in my head. Very possible, but it's just so damn catchy. The guy, Eric Lindmark, something like that, also went on to found Deeds of Flesh, so this isn't quite as heavy as that, but it's that proto-brutal death metal, with no slam elements or anything like that. Don't worry. Check out Charlie Christ. All right, and a fifth strangely named death metal band from the US from the 90s was all the way over here in New York, a band called 420. Now that does remind me, I am doing a video on black metal bands who use numbers for their name sooner or later more likely. But yeah, that's in the works. Obviously this band is Substance influenced again, but it's straightforward, brutal death metal. This is from 98, so what you expect from that time and place is what you got here. It's above average, nothing great, not enough time to get boring. Only 2 songs on this demo. Check it out. Alright, pretty good stuff. But my favorite on the list is on the opposite side of that decade. From 91, this Michigan band released a demo. The band is Zombified Preachers of Gore. Now in my previous video I did mention that other Michigan zombie band, but this is the one I prefer. This is a death grindy sound with some definite Autopsy style influences. Check it out. Good stuff, huh? Alright, I got a few more lists for you, but before we go forward, I just want to make something clear. Now, several of those bands that I just went through are obviously substance influenced, substance induced. You know their policy on it. Well, I want to make clear, just because I make a video about something does not mean I support something. This is just about the music, folks. Must I remind you our stance here at Metal Movies and More Industries?
Drugs are bad because you're a hippie, and hippies suck.
One thing you may have noticed in this series, I've really neglected anything from the 80s. The 80s, the genres weren't really defined. Death, thrash, black, speed, all that stuff, even crust, just mixed together. Stenchcore, was that even a term back then? I don't know. But all that stuff was mixed together. It was just heavy shit. So I don't really want to get into that kind of debate. What was the first death metal band, album, demo? Y'all can hash that out on your own. I'm not too concerned about that. But there's one 80s band I do want to go without mentioning. Go without mentioning? I don't want to go without mentioning. That many negatives got me to the right positive, I think. Anywho, Numbskull. In 88, they released Ritually Abused, which is a death thrash style from Chicago. Chicago really was a hotbed for a while, and I think they tend to get forgotten about too often. Now, one reason I don't mention that stuff is because it really is a blurred definition at that time, but this is that death thrash that is extreme, but not like extreme in the annoying way. Check it out. The next 5 I'm not going to give samples for. I just wanted you to hear some 80s death metal. I know not quite as good as Incubus, what they were putting out that time, but something you don't want to miss. Now, something else you don't want to miss is 𝔼𝔸ℝ𝕃𝕐. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Now, I was a little iffy putting this in here. While it was from Florida at the right time, 91, the album I'm going to suggest, and produced by Scott Burns, it is a little grindy. So, does it get death grind or is it death metal? You know, it's one of those, but it's fantastic. It's super short. If you don't like it, I think you wasted 17 minutes of your life. Check that one out. And then after that, check out Back in the Midwest, a Chicago band. I don't think quite Chicago. Southern Illinois, Middle Illinois, somewhere like that. Band called Hot Stove. Goofy name, right? But don't touch the hot stove. And I tell you what, this band morphed into Waco Jesus. Don't look up Waco Jesus' album covers. Trust me. And speaking of album covers, I'm going to round out this 6th list with 3 album covers that were so goofy they prevented me from listening to them. I'm going to do another 80s band, death thrash from New York, Malicious Onslaught. This is decent, but if you notice, it was not in my top M bands list.
Orpheus Descends, probably in the same group, a little bit more well-known. From 92, they released Ritual of Infinity. And number 2, I would say Morbius with Alien Christ from 1995.
Another album cover, Horror of Horrors from 94. They released an album called Eerie. I like it, the album cover, but I see how it could be a little off-putting. This is decent. Don't look for anything great. I'm not just naming random bands at this point. This is all stuff that's average or better. There's a lot of shit out there. So I'm trying to separate that for you. The wheat from the chaff, so to speak. This is the stuff that should have risen to the top but was kind of kept down for whatever reason. There's a variety of reasons. The market was oversaturated. They didn't get enough promotion. They didn't put in the extra work. They were unable to go to a tour that could have got them. So many reasons a band wasn't able to advance or excel or anything like that. And it's not necessarily related to talent or quality of music. And that's the only thing I'm concerned about here is the quality of music. 6th one I'm going to add for you on this list is by Hellwitch. This was a Floridian death metal band in 1990. They released this album. I always forget how to pronounce it. I can't ever remember how to pronounce this. Their actual words. I don't know why they were trying to be so cryptic with this. If I remember, it has something to do with outer space. That's why there's a comet. I think it's a comet on here. But I do kind of like that elements where you involve like something spooky with outer space in general, whether it's the more Lovecraftian stuff, not that's more death than it is thrash. Like Sadist, that I just consider very heavy thrash. This is it touches on death metal enough for me to put it in this list, but the French were really doing death thrash good at this time. In fact, coming up after this video, I'm going to start doing my European death metal from the 90s video. I'm going to be comparing and contrasting 2 countries. So look for that coming up. France will be the first one. They are going to challenge Russia. This is a rematch. But if you could, please share this video anywhere you can think of, in person or on social media, anywhere. I don't go on social media. I don't go on message boards or anything like that. So any sharing that you do, I would greatly appreciate it. And I would like to know where some of my views are coming from. So in the comments, if you can say where you found this video, I'd appreciate that too. I'd just like to know. But this probably isn't a good video to start with. I don't know. What's your favorite video? What's a good starting video? Share that with somebody. I know what my top viewed video is, and I can't figure out why, because it's nothing special compared with my other videos. And I still got some cringe stuff and some stuff I would go and tweak a little bit, but not too much. It's cringy still, but all my videos are. Well, obviously 2/6 list isn't going to sit well with me. We need a third one for the theme. You get it.
That's the joke.
I am introducing you to a wide variety of bands here. Don't think I'm just name dropping. These are all above average or better. They're worth your time. So if you're willing to dig in, I hope you use this as a resource to start your adventure. Don't just take my word as gold. Obviously, you're going to have your own taste also, so you can kind of feel it out based on the ones that you've liked and go from there. So 6 more that I think you should know. Let's start with, in '99, 𝔼𝔸ℝ𝕃𝕐 released an album, but I'm sorry. I should treat you with a little bit more respect. Of course, you know who 𝔼𝔸ℝ𝕃𝕍 is. Let's see, stuff I haven't thought of yet. If you've made it this far in the series, you definitely know that, so I apologize. How about Mortal Decay? That one should have made my top M band list. That was dumb of me. Gathering of Human Artifacts. It's a compilation of their 90s demo stuff, so that's the safest place to start. And then Embalmer. Now, if you got the Relapse mail order catalog in the mid-90s, you're familiar with this. They promoted that one heavily. Maybe that doesn't count as deep enough underground. I mean, Relapse is pretty underground, but if you're into death metal, that's up there. Lethal Prayer. Now, the album cover, it really demonstrates, this is when you can read by the album cover. The album cover represents how it sounds. This is a grimy, pummeling sound from '96, so a little bit later than the premiere stuff typically is released, but this is right up there. Reminds me of Infestor, who I hold in super high regard. They were one of those transplant bands to Florida who I think just got started a little bit too late to be able to achieve the success some of their peers were able to. Hideous Mangalus, kind of a silly name. From '90, they released this album, We Live, You Sleep. Now, '90, it's grindy, so you might think, did I find another Terrorizer or Harassed by Repulsion, something from that? No, it's definitely not up to that quality, but if you enjoy those two works, I think you'll find some enjoyment here. It's B-tier stuff, definitely. If I allowed Asuk, then I'm going to allow Hideous Mangalus here in my list. But, I don't know, maybe either of those shouldn't count. How about heading back to Chicago, Funeral Nation in '91. They released this death thrash album that album cover art is kind of goofy. You know, photographs can really go either way. They can be super, super, like, ridiculously awesome, or just kind of like, This, I think the case is it's kind of, This is a death thrash with a little bit thrashier sound than I would typically allow in still referring to it as death metal, but it fits there. Think Solstice. That's about the realm I would put it in. That was the Floridian band. You know, speaking of Florida, who I haven't mentioned from the 80s, Amon, do I need to mention them? I mean, I don't need to talk about Deicide. Y'all know Deicide, but maybe you don't know the Roots. This was fantastic stuff way back then. It's, I don't know. If I don't count them, then maybe, who else? Oh, Minnesota. A few bands from Minnesota haven't mentioned for whatever reason. Ossuary Insane. The Demonize the Flesh. That's another one of those, you know, Midwest bands that just get forgotten. They're just too spread out. If there was like one more cohesive Midwest scene, I know we had Chicago, but the Midwest is so vast. A lot of these nuggets, if they didn't make the move to Florida, which several did, they kind of got left out in the cold. I mean, Before God is another one that you're going to forget about from Minnesota. But yeah, I'll probably get shit for that one. Don't forget, check out the link in the description of this video for all the bands that I mentioned here, as well as in my previous videos. But watch those videos first. There's going to be bands in there that I failed to mention in any of the videos for whatever reason. I just plain forgot. I can't remember everything. Something else I want to note, I've noticed the whole men like the Roman Empire thing became a meme. It's probably a dead meme by now. But I just want to point out, I'm not following no trend. I've had this up for years.
Glenn Linton. And ladies and gentlemen, the name of the group is Amen. Give them a big hand.
Okay, another band I want to mention. My daughter actually showed me. My 15-year-old daughter showed me a band from the 90s that had missed me by. Carcinogen. Death Crust Band. Thank you very much. I'll take it. A Death Crust Band that, I don't know. They're fantastic. But it got me thinking. When I was a kid, I used to draw logos, make up bands I wanted to be in. And so, let me show you this one. I made that up when I was a kid. A couple other ones. I know, super cringe. Malaria with a fly there. What else do I have here? Gargantuan, Fallout. I'm pretty certain that was before even the initial Fallout game. Incinerator, Demise. Yeah, goofy. I've always been cringe.